My phone says it is time to call this meeting of the Wenatchee School Board on November 23rd to order, and I would ask that you would stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Super. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's a pleasure to be back in person and to welcome our special guest this evening, Honorable Judge Robert Jordan, pardon me, who is here this evening to swear in our recently re-elected and newly elected board members.
Board members, come on forward.
Come on forward.
You guys go.
That's you. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't want to be in the picture.
I state your full name.
I, Julie Norton. I, Maria Negus.
Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
Do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and the Constitution of the State of Washington,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Director of Wenatchee School District
of Director of the Wenatchee School District,
number 246,
number 246,
Chelan County,
Chelan County,
State of Washington,
State of Washington,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Signatures. So we'll have the judge, Catherine. We'll start here first with Catherine. Get out of your way, so let me get my tempo first.
Yeah, I'll get mine out of the way too.
That's okay.
All right.
Maria. Stand right there. And Catherine, or Julie.
Right. All right, do one more signature, right? Maria? Yep, that's okay. Both world. Congratulations. All right, we'd love to have the families come up for pictures in this moment.
Do you want me? No.
There you go.
Awesome, thank you.
Smiling with your eyes.
Congratulations.
Maria, you want to come on up?
What are we doing that?
Yeah, a little kind of.
Okay, congratulations to the three of you and welcome Catherine to the board. We don't waste any time, so we're going to get right down to business. Our first order of business on the agenda today is our consent agenda, which includes minutes from our November 19th meeting, vouchers and payroll, personnel report, surplus report, contracts, policy updates, second read, enrollment and financial report, and field trips. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, is there any discussion? We don't have to do a roll call vote now. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion carries. Thank you so much. I lost my pen.
I stole your pen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now we move on to action items, and the only action items on our board agenda tonight is the election of the chair, vice chair, and appointment of a representative to serve on the legislative committee with our State School Directors Association. So this occurs at the first regular meeting at which newly elected board members are seated in election years, and the board shall elect from among its members a president, a vice president, to serve one-year terms. A newly appointed board member will not be eligible to serve as an officer unless a majority of the board has been appointed. So first on the agenda is the election of the board president. Do I hear a nomination for president of the Wenatchee School Board to serve the ensuing year, December 2021 to December 2022?
I would like to nominate Martin Bear for the president position for the starting December 2021 through December 22nd.
Okay, Martin Barron has been nominated. I would like to note that there's no second required on these nominations. Are there any further nominations? Okay, hearing none. Just make sure there's no further nominations. It appears no one else wishes to make a nomination. And so this will be done by a roll call vote. So I will call each of you and signify by saying aye if you agree and nay if you do not. So I'll start with Julie.
Aye.
We'll skip you, Martin. Catherine.
Aye.
Maria.
Aye.
Laura is an aye.
And I'll vote for myself too.
Woo! Here's a little stand for it.
Way too excited to
Can I go home now?
This is far too much celebration. Anyway, thank you. I want to say I'm very grateful for this privilege of serving as a presiding officer of the board for the next year. As we transition, or have transitioned from Laura to me, there is one very important courtesy to pay tribute to my predecessor, which I will do after we complete the board reorganization. So I will then get back to the cue cards. The second action item is the election of a vice president, also to serve the term from December 2021 to December 22. Do I hear nominations for vice president of the Wenatchee School District to serve in this year?
I would like to nominate Julie Norton for vice president for the term of December 2021 to December 2022.
Okay, thank you. I have one nomination. Do I hear any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Maria Iniguez.
We have two nominations. And are there any further nominations? If that is the case, nominations are closed and we will move to voting. I will take a roll call vote. And I'll do it for either Maria or for Catherine, sorry, you're first, or Maria. And I'll do it in the order of positions.
It's Julie or Maria.
Julie or Maria, sorry, I'm looking Catherine. I apologize, Julie or Maria. Sorry, Julie. And I was going to do it in the order of our positions. So the first person I will call upon will be Laura as position number 1.
Maria.
Maria, since you're nominated, I'll skip you. Catherine as position number 4.
Julie.
Julie, you're also a candidate, but why did you go next as position number 5?
I'd vote for myself.
Right. Maria,
Maria.
and then I am the last one to vote, and I will vote for Maria. So that gives us a majority of votes by 3-2 for Maria Iniguez, who will therefore assume the office of Vice President of the Board. I thank you, Julie, for standing, and I congratulate you, Maria, on assuming that office, and look forward to a year with all of us working together. The next item on the agenda is to elect the legislative representative for the board to serve for I believe it's a 1-year term because this is an odd year and it's normally from 2 to 2. Is that correct, Paul? It is a 1-year term to fill out the term. Although, just because that's a word that people don't talk, or a phrase that people don't use very often, if you look at the job description, it is extremely complicated and demanding. It involves representing the viewpoint of the district within the community at Olympia and doing a lot of hard work and important work. So I just wanted to mention that by way of introduction. So at that point, do I hear nominations for legislative representative of the Wenatchee School District to serve for a single year, December 2021 to December 2022?
I'd like to nominate Julie Norton.
Do I hear any other nominations? I believe I hear no other nominations, and that being the case, Julie, thank you very much. You are elected by acclamation. And so let's acclaim. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is one where we discuss and work out by consensus. We normally have 2 people on a policy committee who, I'll give a bit of background for the people who've come to see the school board meeting. Our policies are generally based on model policies of the Washington State School Directors Association. That's an extremely effective, neutral organization that represents all the school districts in the state of Washington. And they do a lot of work with legal counsel to produce sound and even-handed policies. And that's pretty much what we use. They then go through a review process. They could be reviewed by our own legal counsel, but specifically, we have 2 members of our committee that review these policies. There's a rotating check to make sure they haven't become obsolete. If they're new laws that need to be updated, or if the association says that things have happened and this is a better kind of policy, they will be reviewed by the 2 people we have on our policy committee. And so at this time, if anybody wants to express a preference or ask questions, since this is a discussion consensus item, I certainly am open to that. I think I'm going to make one comment is that it is useful to have some continuity experience in one of the 2 people. And Catherine, you can shoot me down, but I think this is a really good way to get involved and learn a lot about what being on the school board is. and you could bring a fresh mind that we would value. That's just a comment. That's not arm twisting. At that point, I will open up, and anybody who has a question or a discussion item, please go ahead.
I just want to say that over the years, we have just recently, within the last 4 years, I think, really focused on having an, what?
Just close.
Oh, closer. Oh, an active policy committee. And it is extremely important because the policies of our district set the foundation for all the action that the board takes and the way that the school district operates in totality. So it is a really important job. It can be somewhat tedious, but it is interesting. The policy committee typically meets once a month. Kim and Paul organize the policies that are next up for review and provide those in advance of the meeting and the proposed changes. So there's plenty of time to prepare yourself for discussion at the meeting. And then we bring those forward to the board. The policy committee would bring those forward to the board for a first reading. Board provides input and feedback, and then any changes are done, and the next meeting is typically on second reading and up for approval. So that's how that works.
That's correct, yeah. So do we have any volunteers?
I served on the policy committee this past year, and 1 year, it's been a great learning experience, just finally getting to understand policies and how they worked and they impact our district. So just for the continuity in that process, I would like to continue serving on the policy board.
Thank you, Maria, for what you said.
I like the idea of spreading out the positions or jobs within the board, but if nobody's jumping at it, I'd be happy to also serve on it. Policies are in my wheelhouse a little bit, and I find myself often being one of the few that comments when they are circulated. So, but again, I will defer to anyone newer or that doesn't have a role already that would rather do that work.
Okay, go ahead, Catherine.
I'm happy to learn. I'm here to learn. I'm happy to volunteer for that position.
Okay, well, thank you, Catherine. This is something we can discuss amongst us. So Julie, do I interpret you as saying you would be a fail-safe for us, or would you actually actively want to be on the committee?
I kind of actively want to do it. But I don't.
Yeah. Catherine, you were about to say something. Go ahead.
I think that's great, Julie. I'm happy to let you take the lead on that. I don't think there's any, is there a reason that I couldn't possibly attend those meetings also?
Yes.
Just to learn?
There is a reason.
No.
We
The
can't have
problem
a
is that there would
quorum.
be 3 of you,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
that would
I see.
constitute a
I
board
see.
meeting.
I see. Okay.
No, I think the reason that I'm putting this up for discussion is I think a group works a little bit better when we talk amongst ourselves and we're able to follow our interests. And I'll just move a bit more in front of the mic. So even though this takes us on a little bit of a rambling journey, I think the end point would be quite good. It sounds like, Maria, you're actively interested. Julie, you're actively interested. Catherine, you would be interested, but you're not completely certain. Is that what I heard you say?
I am actively interested, but I will defer being new. I am trying to get a feel for where I should land. So it's kind of a hard call. I am actively interested, though.
I think I agree with, what Martin said earlier about the combination of a newly elected board member and a veteran serving on that committee together provides, fresh insight and is also a great learning opportunity for that new board member. So we're not voting on this, so I'm not going to say, but I would be in favor of seeing a combination of a veteran with a new board member. I think that would be very beneficial for the district and for the board members as individuals.
I'm just going to plead my case here.
Yeah.
I feel it's very important to have that just different lens and different perspective on the policy board, which is the reason I have found it very valuable to serve and bring that personal experience, the educational background. So, like I said, I would love to continue serving on the policy board for those reasons.
Okay. I think what Laura said makes sense to me, coming in at the last point. I think that Kimberly, Catherine, yeah, that would do you a lot of good as a learning exercise. Not that you necessarily need that, but I think you'd find it helpful. It would be helpful to us to have a fresh mind. And, Julie, if you're working on legislative, Maria is coming with continuity on that. This is a polling consensus item for the board, not a vote. That would be what I would think would be most functional.
And I was just about to say, I agree, there's a good idea to get Catherine more involved, and so I'd be willing to, knowing I'm doing the legislative things, I can still voice my opinions on the policies anyway, so if she, I think that'd be a good role for her.
Okay, well, thank you, Julie, and
Thank you, Julie.
go ahead.
May I ask, is it possible that I could work on the legislative things? I did do the WASDA conference this past weekend, and then let Julie work on the policy items.
The legislative position is a pretty big responsibility, and it involves convening with other board members across the state and sort of talking about those. Each school district developed a list of 10 top priorities, and then the districts convened at a regional meeting and sort of sifted through and made the regional priorities, and then we are going to bring those forward to Olympia. I think that happens in February. We go for the legislative day on the Hill, so it's a pretty quick, steep learning curve that's very intense, and there's not necessarily a safety net like there would be in the district here. I'm not trying to discourage you but I just want you to be realistic about what the expectations of that role are.
Julie, you were on the policy committee your first year.
Yeah, I did it just briefly the first year, and then COVID hit, so it wasn't as engaged as it would be this next year. So I think the policy committee is probably a good start for for just acclimating to the board more so than the legislative. But if we wanted to revote it, I'm not gonna beat anybody up over it.
I'm happy to take your advice and
I think we're moving to a kind of a loose consensus that, thank you very much, Catherine. I think that's a really good spot for you to start from. I think looking at Julie and Maria, the continuity from last year is helpful. This one is for 1 year. And Julie, you go full power on legislative. I think that spreads our assets around the important objectives that we have. And unless somebody wants to say that that is not an interpretation of the consensus around the table, I would suggest that's where we land. Anybody disagree? No. I think we've then formed our policy committee. Thank you very, very much.
Yes, thank you.
I now get to what I wanted to say. A year ago, we asked Laura if she was willing to serve a second term because she was the one of us with the experience to serve as the first among equals. And that's really how a board is supposed to function for what we expected to be a very challenging year. We had no idea of how challenging. You can all laugh now, okay? Experience mattered. But what Laura really gave, and why I want to speak now, was her wisdom and her humanity. And she did this with dignity and grace. And that really, really mattered. So thank you, Laura. If I was designing a plaque, which I'm not, or plaque, how do you say that in American? Okay, which I'm not doing yet, I see the message, you kept us on course. Thank you. And that would be against an image of Laura looking ahead, listening intently to people while piloting a craft of some kind through turbulent air or turbulent water. That's the level of what she's done on a more humorous vein. So thank you, Laura. I also wanted to add, I'm a believer that boards are stronger when leadership is passed between members. It strengthens the whole board. And we kind of alluded to that in talking about how we shared the jobs recently now, by refreshing the direction of focus and sharing the burden. There is added value, which I will definitely need and intend to use when the immediate past president is here for council on any board. So Laura, you got slammed for 2 years in a row, for which we're deeply grateful. I think you're president emeritus and still incredibly valuable to all of us. And thank you very much.
So it's very unusual for this board to have a president serve consecutive terms, correct, Laura?
Correct, never happened in
Never
my time.
happened. So one of the things that we wanted to do was recognize that as a staff and as a board, and recognize that you have your own gavel. So you don't miss it over these next 2 years.
Can I keep it over here just in case Martin
Just in
takes out
case,
his-
yes, just in case. But thank you for your service and your leadership
Thank you.
during these past 2 years.
I appreciate that, and thank you, Martin, for the kind words. I do appreciate your sentiments, and I am very grateful for the opportunity for the past 2 years. It's not something that I expected. It's really my philosophy that when you serve on a board together with 5 people, that we're all equally yoked. Everybody shares the responsibility together. And I really think it's a sign of a healthy board when those leadership positions rotate and the committee positions rotate, that everybody ultimately takes a stand as the vice chair or the chair or the ledge rep or the policy, that we don't have any idle, inactive participants in the board. It's important to be active. I'm honored to have been chosen to serve for the last 2 years. I'm going to call it done and celebrate that. So thank you very much.
Whoops, sorry. Try it again. The next item, I'll hear myself when I got the right button hit. The next item on the agenda is citizen comment. We are in person, and Kim has a sign-up sheet. If anybody, has anybody signed up, Kim? Okay, not online, and unless somebody yells, I will decide this is a happy meeting. We're all getting ready to work together for next year. Okay, that being the case, I move on to board communication, and board members can take turns to say what they would wish to the meeting.
I go first. Just a quick update. I attended the WASTA annual conference. Catherine was there. Were you in virtually? And Martin and I think Paul was there in person. Great sessions. The focus continues to be on equity and inclusion. But what I was most impressed about was the student participation piece. They were wonderful. The voice they carry at every session where a student spoke up was very powerful. And it was just a reminder to me the importance, after meeting with student groups here at Westside and at Wenatchee High School, of having that voice and how impactful they can be on our board and for our district. They are the knowledge of the district, really, what's going on in the buildings. So just kudos to all the students that were there, and hopefully we can one day have a representative from Wenatchee School District attend the WASTA meetings as well.
So just speaking of student opportunities, I was really excited to see that the district got approved for the junior ROTC program. I was participated in that a little bit in high school myself, so I was really hopeful that we find a lot of students that take advantage of that. That was a big win, I think, for the district. So excited to see that and looking forward to a new year.
Anybody else wish to add a comment? If not, I do actually. I also wanted to say something about the WASDA conference, which was very, very fine. And this is that I think it'll be useful for those of us who were able to attend to write a short, less than a page note and submit them to Paul Gordon, superintendent, of the most valuable insights that we gained from the conference. Each of the sessions, there can be 6 or 8 at a time. And by the way, they are almost all on tape now, so you can go back and look at ones that you missed. I certainly found some powerful. And if we submit them to Paul, using kind of lengthy words, the collective power of the board can benefit by us passing ideas around. The tapes should be up until next June, I believe, which is quite a long time. So I think that was an important event of last week, and I'm glad that those of us who were able to go did well in it. We kind of have a tradition of celebrating civic events when they happen, and there is one this month. It is Native American Heritage Month, and we have from time to time, as a school district, recognized that area. What I wanted to say is that all of us in Wenatchee, we're inheritors, some from ancient times and some recently. If we look at the earth under our feet, or look out across the valley, or we look at our histories and customs, we share a heritage that makes us who we are, and most importantly, what we can aspire to. It is a time in this month, I mention it, to reflect on what is brought to our home through the first peoples who share this home with us. Thanksgiving, that's the last item, and that's a happy item. Paul, you wrote a nice letter on this week. On behalf of the board, I wish to thank every member of the school district that's inside and outside the buildings, teachers, students, parents, families, people sweating on buses and everything else, for your effort and diligent work and support. May you enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday safely if you travel, celebrating with friends and family if you're able to, and return next week somewhat rested and ready to be welcomed once again into the Wenatchee Schools community. So happy Thanksgiving to all. And then we have a superintendent report.
All right, thank you, everybody. First, want to start with congratulations, Julie, Maria, Catherine. Welcome to our board. Really excited. Again, congratulations to all 3 of you. Also, want to just comment on 2 things that board members commented on. The WASA conference was outstanding. And Maria, I agree with you. The student voice was just incredible throughout the entire conference. Just engaging with students and making sure that their voices continue to be lifted up. Julie, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Our junior ROTC Air Force that was just granted to us. And the credit goes to the high school, Jake Buholtz, Eric Anderson, for all the work that they put into this. So generally speaking, it is a 3-year timeline before anybody is awarded a approval to move forward with this. So they were out, 2 officers from the Air Force were out at the high school visiting with members of our cabinet, visiting with members of the high school. And literally, this is their one time. They only come out once, and this is your one opportunity to kind of show these officers what we have to offer. And again, they told us they would go back, they would meet with their board sometime in September, so a ways off. So we had no grand illusions of anything happening. Toward the end of that meeting, the ranking officer looked at me and said, "Well, welcome aboard." We literally were stunned. I had to ask him, I said, "What are you offering us?" He's like, "We're offering you an opportunity to have a junior ROTC program at Wenatchee High School." I say that because it was the level, they were so impressed by the work that Eric and Jake and many others put in to the presentation, because it was up to a year of writing the application, getting everything in process, working with our community, connecting with the Civil Air Patrol, connecting with different organizations to make this happen. This is an opportunity for many of our kids to really connect in a very different way than we have available in our valley. So I'm just incredibly proud of the work and more excited for our students in the coming year. So we have a posting out there where our goal is to be opening this in August with students. If we find the right candidates to teach these positions and their former Air Force retirees that can step into that. So we're really excited about it. And I'll finish as well with a happy Thanksgiving and really appreciative of our entire community, from our staff, our students, to our parents in our community, for continuing to move forward and make great things happen for our school district. Martin, back to you.
Thanks, Paul. I would add a PS to this. I happen to be fortunate as an observer on that meeting with the Air Force. And there are two characteristics that I think caused that exceptional decision. One was the detailed hard work within the community carried on by the career and technical education staff, by Eric Anderson and his staff in the high school, knowing what happened in other programs regionally, detailed, hard digging work. And the other part of it is they were given the planning that this school district is doing and our outlook. And they were impressed by that. So there were two things that we can work on as we look at this year ahead: good planning and building on that, and doing our legwork and the process of doing our work well. So those went into this absolutely stunning and exceptional statement. Not 3 years, sign now, and I'll go home and we'll get you one. And so that was pretty amazing and a tribute, and thank you, Wenatchee, for that. I believe that's the end of the agenda. If I'm wrong, you will find I'll make fewer mistakes, I hope, in future meetings. Thank you all very, very much for coming here. I appreciate it. The meeting is adjourned.